Marcus Reed wiped the grease from his hands with a worn cloth, surveying the chaos of Nexus 7's main docking bay. The remote trading station orbited a gas giant on the outer rim of civilized space, attracting merchants, smugglers, and every variety of spacefarer looking to avoid the more regulated inner systems. As the station's chief engineer, Marcus had seen every type of ship imaginable dock at their ports, but the sleek vessel currently descending through the atmospheric barrier was unlike anything in his extensive experience. The ship moved with an almost organic fluidity, its hull shimmering with an iridescent quality that seemed to shift between deep purples and silver, depending on the angle of the station's lighting. No harsh angles or utilitarian design marred its surface. Instead, it appeared grown rather than built, like some exotic deep-sea creature adapted for the vacuum of space. Marcus, station manager Hendricks, jogged over, his usually composed demeanor showing cracks of anxiety. "We've got an incoming priority repair request. Class 7 emergency landing protocols." Marcus raised an eyebrow. Class 7 meant either imminent engine failure or life support problems, both potentially fatal in the void. "What's their status?" "Hyperdrive malfunction. Quantum resonance cascade building toward critical. Pilot says they've got maybe 20 minutes before the containment field collapses." Hendricks checked his tablet. "Ship registry shows it's owned by someone named Zara Veltana. Never heard of her, but she's paying premium rates for immediate service." The mysterious vessel touched down with surprising gentleness for an emergency landing, its landing struts extending with mechanical precision. Marcus grabbed his toolkit and headed toward the docking umbilical, mentally cataloging the specialized equipment he might need for an alien hyperdrive system. The airlock cycled with a soft hiss, and Marcus stepped aboard to find himself in a corridor that defied conventional ship design. The walls curved seamlessly into the ceiling, and bioluminescent strips provided warm, ambient lighting that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The air carried an exotic fragrance, something between ozone and night-blooming flowers. "You must be the engineer," came a melodious voice from deeper in the ship. "I hope you're better than the last 3 humans who claimed they could work on quantum systems." Marcus followed the voice toward what he assumed was the engine room, pushing through a membrane-like barrier that parted at his approach. The chamber beyond took his breath away. The hyperdrive core hung suspended in the center of the room, a crystalline structure that pulsed with dangerous red warning lights. Energy arced between its faceted surfaces in increasingly erratic patterns. But it wasn't the impressive technology that made him pause, it was the woman working frantically. At a control console nearby, she stood nearly 6 feet tall, her lithe form clad in a form-fitting jumpsuit that seemed to be made from the same material as her ship's hull. Her skin held a subtle luminescence, pale blue-white like starlight, and intricate silver patterns traced along her arms and neck, whether tattoos or natural markings. Marcus couldn't tell. Most striking were her eyes, deep violet with flecks of gold that seemed to glow with their own inner light. When she turned to face him, her expression was a mixture of frustration and barely concealed amusement. "Well, are you going to stand there gawking? Or are you going to help me prevent this quantum resonance from turning us all into our component atoms?" Marcus shook off his momentary distraction and moved to examine the hyperdrive core. The readings on his scanner made him whistle low. "This is way beyond critical. How are you still alive?" "Exceptional engineering and luck in equal measure," she replied, her fingers dancing across controls with practiced ease. "Though mostly luck at this point. The containment matrix is completely destabilized," Marcus muttered, circulating the core and taking readings from multiple angles. Standard protocol would be to eject the entire core and hope for the best. Zara, he assumed this was the mysterious Veltana, turned to face him fully, one elegantly arched eyebrow raised in challenge. "And leave me stranded on your little trading post? I don't think so, human. There has to be another way." Marcus found himself grinning despite the potentially lethal situation. "You really think you can dictate terms when your ship is about to explode?" Her lips curved in a smile that was equal parts dangerous and alluring. "You really think you can handle technology this advanced? Human?" She gestured toward the hyperdrive core with graceful confidence. This quantum matrix operates on principles your species barely understands. Try me. Marcus replied, already formulating a plan as he studied the energy patterns. I've been working with quantum systems since before you probably learned to fly. Doubtful, she said with a laugh that sounded like silver bells. I've been piloting ships since before your world discovered faster-than-light travel. Marcus pulled out his advanced diagnostic equipment tools that represented the cutting edge of human engineering technology. What I lack in age, I make up for in creativity. Human engineering might not be as elegant as yours, but we excel at improvised solutions. Zara watched with growing interest as he interfaced his equipment with her ship's systems. What are you doing? Creating a harmonic feedback loop to stabilize the quantum resonance, Marcus explained, his hands working quickly to establish the connections. Your containment field is trying to maintain perfect equilibrium, but the cascade is introducing too many variables. If I can create a controlled imbalance that shifts in opposition to the cascade pattern. The hyperdrive core's angry red glow began to shift toward amber as Marcus's makeshift solution took effect. Zara moved closer, close enough that he could smell that exotic fragrance definitely coming from her rather than the ship's atmosphere. Clever, she murmured, her voice carrying a note of genuine appreciation. You're using brute force harmonic manipulation to create stability through controlled instability. Elegant in its inelegance. I'll take that as a compliment, Marcus replied, making fine adjustments to the feedback parameters. The energy arcing between the crystal facets began to settle into more regular patterns. It was meant as one, Zara said, and when Marcus glanced at her, he found those violet eyes studying him with an intensity that had nothing to do with his engineering skills. I may have underestimated human ingenuity. The hyperdrive core's glow shifted to a steady blue, and the warning alarms finally fell silent. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he checked the readings. Quantum resonance stabilized, containment field restored to normal parameters. You should be good for standard operations. Zara moved to her own controls, confirming his assessment. Remarkable. The quantum matrix is actually more stable now than it was before the malfunction. She turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. What did you say your name was? Marcus read. And you're Zara Veltana, according to the station manifest. Just Zara, she corrected, extending her hand in what Marcus recognized as a universal gesture of friendship. When he took it, her skin was warm despite its luminescent quality, and he felt a slight tingle whether from static discharge or something else entirely. He couldn't say, just Marcus, he replied, reluctant to release her hand. They stood there. For a moment, the successful repair forgotten as something passed between them, recognition of kindred spirits, perhaps, or simply the attraction between two beings from vastly different worlds who had found common ground in the language of engineering and shared danger. So, Zara said finally, her lips curving in that teasing smile he was beginning to find addictive. What else do you expect to receive from me, human? Marcus felt his own smile forming in response. I haven't decided yet. What are you offering? Before she could answer, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Veltana, this is station control. We're showing your repairs complete. Are you ready for departure clearance? The moment broken, Zara moved to respond, but not before giving Marcus a look that promised their conversation was far from over. Station control, this is Veltana. Repairs complete, but I'll be remaining docked for additional consultations. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Additional consultations. Zara's violet eyes sparkled with mischief. Well, someone needs to show me around this charming little station, and I'm curious to see what other surprises human engineering might hold. The next morning found Marcus in his workshop beneath Nexus 7's main engineering deck, tinkering with a quantum calibration device that had been giving him trouble for weeks. The complex calculations required for the modifications kept his mind occupied, though he found his thoughts drifting to violet eyes and silver-traced skin more often than he cared to admit. A soft chime from his communication panel interrupted his work. Marcus, we need you in Docking Bay 7 immediately, came Hendrick's voice, tight with tension. We have a situation. Marcus set down his tools with a sigh. On a station like Nexus 7, situations could range from minor diplomatic incidents to full-scale pirate attacks. He made his way through the station's corridors, noting the increased security presence and the worried expressions on the faces of the civilian traders. Docking Bay 7 housed Zara's ship, and as Marcus approached, he could see her standing near the cargo loading area, her posture tense despite her outwardly calm demeanor. 3 heavily armed individuals in mismatched armor flanked her, definitely not station security. "Ah, Marcus," Hendricks greeted him with obvious relief. "Perhaps you can help resolve this matter. These gentlemen claim that Ms. Veltana's cargo belongs to them." The largest of the 3 strangers stepped forward, his scarred face twisted. In what might have been a smile, "Zara's been carrying stolen property. We're here to collect what's rightfully ours." Marcus glanced at Zara, who met his gaze with an expression that clearly said she was handling the situation her own way. "Stolen is such an ugly word, Korvik," she said, her voice carrying dangerous undertones. "I prefer liberated from unworthy hands." "The Helix Consortium paid good credits for that quantum crystal," Korvik growled. "You had no right to interfere with their operation." Marcus felt pieces clicking into place. The Helix Consortium was known throughout the Outer Rim for their ruthless acquisition of alien technology, often through less than legal means. If Zara had taken something from them, she likely had good reason. "The crystal was stolen from my people first," Zara replied coolly. "I simply returned it to its proper custodianship." Korvik's hand moved toward his weapon. "We can do this easy or hard, Veltana, but we're leaving with that crystal." Before anyone could react, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed the docking bay in rotating red, and Hendricks' communicator erupted with frantic chatter. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace, Hendricks reported, his face pale. "Unknown configuration, weapons hot, demanding we surrender the stolen property immediately." Marcus saw Zara's expression shift from defiant to calculating. "Pirate reinforcements," she murmured. "I was hoping to resolve this quietly." "Too late for quiet," Marcus replied. "Already moving toward the docking bay controls. How much time? Do we need to get your ship ready for emergency departure?" 10 minutes minimum, Zara said. Then louder to Korvik, "It seems your friends lack subtlety." The station shuddered as the first energy blasts struck the outer shields. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, Marcus could see 3 predatory vessels closing fast, sleek interceptors designed for hit-and-run tactics. "Bay 7 emergency launch sequence initiated," Marcus announced, his fingers flying over the controls. "All personnel clear the launch area." Korvik snarled, drawing his weapon. "Nobody's leaving until—" His words were cut off as Zara moved, with inhuman speed, disarming him with a fluid motion that sent his blaster skittering across the deck. Her 2 companions found themselves facing the wrong end of her own weapon before they could react. "Marcus is right," she said pleasantly. "It's time to leave." Another impact rocked the station. Stronger this time, the main lights flickered, and Marcus could hear the groaning of stressed metal. "Their shields won't hold much longer," Hendricks said grimly. "Nexus 7 isn't built for combat." Marcus made a split-second decision. "Hendricks, initiate full evacuation protocols. Get everyone to the emergency ships." He turned to Zara. "How fast can your ship move with 2 people aboard?" Her violet eyes widened slightly. "You want to come with me? Those pirates aren't going to stop with just your cargo." Marcus explained, sealing the docking bay and beginning the atmospheric evacuation sequence. "They'll strip everything valuable from this station. But if we can lead them away," a noble sentiment, Zara said, though her expression had warmed considerably. "But you don't know what you're volunteering for. That quantum crystal I'm carrying, it's more than just valuable. It's dangerous in the wrong hands." The station shook again, and this time the lights stayed out for several seconds before the emergency systems kicked in. "Dangerous how?" Marcus asked as they ran toward her ship. "It's a fragment of a larger matrix that can manipulate spacetime itself," Zara explained, her ship's boarding ramp extending at their approach. "In the right configuration, it could create stable wormholes for instantaneous travel across galactic distances. In the wrong hands, It could tear holes in reality itself, Marcus finished. Understanding dawning. That's why you stole it from the consortium. Exactly. Zara's ship came alive around them as they reached the cockpit. They planned to weaponize it. Use it to create spatial distortions that could destroy entire star systems. Marcus strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat as the ship lifted smoothly from the docking bay. Through the viewports, he could see the 3 pirate vessels turning to intercept them, abandoning their attack on the station. It's working, he observed. They're following us. Zara's hands danced across the controls with practiced grace. The question is, can we stay ahead of them long enough to reach safe harbor? The ship accelerated rapidly, pushing Marcus back into his seat. Behind them, Nexus 7 grew smaller as the pirate ships gave chase, their weapons charging for another volley. Where exactly is safe harbor? Marcus asked, checking the tactical display. Zara smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, it was completely without guile or teasing. There's an abandoned mining facility in the Zirian system. We can lose them in the asteroid field. Energy beams lanced past the ship as the pirates opened fire. Zara banked sharply, using her vessel's superior maneuverability to stay ahead of the larger pursuit craft. Thank you, she said suddenly, her voice soft beneath the hum of the engines. For what? For trusting me, for helping save the station, for not asking too many questions about why I'm really carrying that crystal. Marcus found himself studying her profile as she piloted through the increasingly dangerous crossfire. Maybe I should be asking more questions. Zara glanced at him, her violet eyes holding depths he was only beginning to fathom. Maybe you should, but perhaps we should reach safety first. Another blast rocked the ship, closer this time. In the distance, stars began to stretch as Zara engaged the hyperdrive, carrying them away from Nexus 7 and toward whatever awaited them in the depths of space. As the pursuit ships followed them into hyperspace, Marcus realized that his life had just taken a turn he could never have anticipated. Sitting beside an alien woman he barely knew, carrying stolen technology that could reshape the galaxy, he discovered he felt more alive than he had in years. So he said, settling back in his seat, "Tell me about this quantum crystal that's worth starting a war over." Zara's laugh was like music in the confined space of the cockpit. Now that, Marcus Reed, is definitely the right question. The abandoned mining facility hung like a metallic spider against the star field, its massive extraction arms frozen in eternal reach toward the asteroid belt that had once been its livelihood. Zara's ship drifted silently between the derelict structures, using the facility's bulk to mask their energy signature from the pursuing pirates. "How long do you think we have?" Marcus asked, monitoring the passive sensors for any sign of their hunters. "Captain Voss is persistent, but not patient," Zara replied, her hands steady on the controls as she maneuvered them into a concealed docking bay. "He'll search the asteroid field for a few hours, then move on to other likely hiding spots. We should have at least 6 hours of safety." The docking bay sealed around them, with surprising efficiency for a supposedly abandoned facility. Emergency lighting flickered on, revealing a surprisingly well-maintained chamber. "This place isn't as dead as it looks," Marcus observed, noting the functional life support indicators. Zara nodded, powering down her ship's main systems. "The Helix Consortium used it as a supply depot before I disrupted their operations. The basic systems are still functional." They made their way through the facility's corridors, finding a comfortable observation lounge with panoramic views of the asteroid field. The space was clearly designed for executives and VIPs, plush seating, a well-stocked refreshment center, and atmospheric lighting that automatically adjusted to their presence. "Impressive setup for a mining operation," Marcus commented, settling into one of the chairs. "The previous owners believed in creature comforts," Zara said, moving to a cabinet and withdrawing a bottle filled with luminescent blue liquid. "Care for a drink? This is Andorian brandy, supposed to be quite good." Marcus accepted the offered glass, noting how the liquid seemed to swirl with its own inner light. "So, about that quantum crystal, you said it could manipulate spacetime." Zara curled up in the chair opposite him, her legs tucked beneath her in a pose that was both elegant and somehow vulnerable. My people call it a heart stone. Legend says it was created by an ancient civilization that achieved transcendence through technology rather than evolution. Transcendence meaning what, exactly? The ability to exist across multiple dimensions, simultaneously, to experience time as a navigable dimension rather than a linear progression. Zara's eyes grew distant. They supposedly used the heart stones to explore possibilities across infinite realities. Marcus took a sip of the brandy, feeling warmth spread through his chest, and the Helix Consortium wanted to turn something that magnificent into a weapon. They wanted to create temporal bombs devices that could age enemy ships to dust in seconds or trap them in time loops. Her voice hardened, the thought of such beauty being perverted into an instrument of destruction. Is that why you became a thief? Zara looked surprised at the directness of his question. You assume I'm a thief, aren't you? Marcus asked, with a smile. I mean, technically, you did steal that crystal, she laughed, the sound echoing pleasantly in the observation lounge. I prefer to think of myself as a preservation specialist. I locate artifacts that are being misused and relocate them to more appropriate custodianship. A noble calling, Marcus said, raising his glass in a mock toast. To preservation specialists everywhere, to engineers who risk their lives for people they barely know, Zara countered, clinking her glass against his. The brandy was beginning to work its magic, creating a warm atmosphere of intimacy in the vast emptiness of space. Outside the viewports, asteroids drifted slowly past like ancient sentinels. Can I see it? Marcus asked. The heart stone? Zara studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. She reached into a concealed pocket in her jumpsuit and withdrew a crystalline object, about the size of her palm, in the lounge's ambient lighting. It pulsed with soft rainbow colors that seemed to shift and flow like liquid aurora. It's beautiful, Marcus breathed, leaning closer. As he did, he became acutely aware of Zara's proximity, the subtle luminescence of her skin, the exotic fragrance that seemed to be part of her very being. The legends say that heart stones respond to strong emotions, Zara said softly, as if summoned by her words. The crystal's colors intensified, swirling faster in patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. What kind of emotions? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Love. Passion. The connection between two souls. Zara's violet eyes met his across the small space between them. The ancient ones believed that true emotional resonance could unlock the stone's deeper mysteries. The crystal in her hands was now pulsing in rhythm with something, perhaps their heartbeats. Perhaps something deeper. Marcus found himself drawn not just to the artifact's beauty, but to the woman holding it. Zara, he said quietly, what aren't you telling me about this crystal? She looked down at the heart stone, its light playing across her features. My people are dying out. We're scattered across the galaxy. Refugees from worlds conquered by the Helix Consortium and others like them. The heart stones were meant to help us find a new home, not just a planet, but a dimension where we could rebuild without fear. And you think this crystal can do that? I think it might be able to, with the right person to help unlock its potential. She looked up at him, vulnerability clear in her luminous eyes. Someone who understands both technology and the heart. Marcus reached out slowly, covering her hands with his own. The moment their skin touched, the heart stone blazed with brilliant light, filling the observation lounge with cascading colors that painted the walls in shifting aurora. Patterns, Marcus, Zara whispered, her voice carrying wonder and something deeper. He leaned closer, drawn by forces he didn't fully understand, whether technological, emotional, or something that transcended both. When their lips met, the heart stone's light exploded outward, and for a brief moment, Marcus felt as though he could perceive the infinite possibilities of existence, stretching out around them like an endless web of potential. The kiss deepened, fueled by the strange energy emanating from the crystal and the undeniable connection that had been building between them since their first meeting. Zara's skin was warm beneath his touch, and he could feel a subtle electric current passing between them, whether from her alien physiology or the heart stone's influence. He neither knew nor cared. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. The heart stone had settled into a steady, warm glow that pulsed gently in harmony with their synchronized heartbeats. That was Marcus began, then trailed off, lacking adequate words. Unprecedented, Zara finished. The stone has never responded so strongly to anyone before. Outside the viewports, a new light appeared among the asteroids, the distinctive glow of ship engines, conducting a search. Pattern, Voss, Zara said grimly. The intimate moment shattered by the return of immediate danger. Marcus reluctantly pulled away, though he kept one hand on hers. How did he find us so quickly? I don't know. But we need to move. Zara secured the heart stone, though its glow remained visible through the fabric of her jumpsuit. There's another facility. Deeper in. The bell told her, more hidden. As they prepared to leave their temporary sanctuary, Marcus realized that everything had changed between them. The quantum crystal wasn't just a valuable artifact anymore, it was a bond that connected them in ways he was only beginning to understand. And Captain Voss wasn't just a pirate pursuing stolen goods. He was a threat to something infinitely precious that Marcus was only now discovering. He couldn't bear to lose. The ancient research station orbited the binary star system like a metallic flower. Its solar collection arrays spread wide to capture the energy of both suns. According to Zara's navigation charts, it had been abandoned for over 3 centuries. But as they approached, Marcus could see that its basic systems were still operational. Research Station Gemini, Zara read from the facility database, originally built to study the interaction between binary stellar bodies. Automated systems have maintained basic functionality all this time. Behind them, Captain Voss and his pirate fleet had proven more tenacious than expected. They'd pursued Marcus and Zara through to asteroid fields and a nebula, getting closer. With each encounter, the binary star system was their last hope for sanctuary. The intense radiation and gravitational effects made it difficult for most ships to maintain stable orbits. Can we dock? Marcus asked, studying the station's configuration. Through the viewport, Zara pointed to an extending docking arm near the station's core. But we'll need to time it perfectly. The gravitational flux from the binary stars makes approach windows very narrow. Marcus watched with admiration as she piloted her ship through the treacherous gravitational currents, using the competing forces of the twin stars to slingshot them toward the docking port. The maneuver required split-second timing and an intuitive understanding of orbital mechanics that impressed even his engineer's sensibilities. The docking clamps engaged with a solid thunk, and they found themselves safely moored to the ancient facility. Through the airlock, emergency lighting revealed corridors that had been empty for centuries, but were still maintained by the station's tireless automated systems. Welcome to Research Station Gemini, came a pleasant synthetic voice as they entered the main corridor. I am Nova, the facility's artificial intelligence. It has been 347 years, for months, and 16 days since my last human visitors. How may I assist you? Marcus and Zara exchanged glances. A functioning AI could be either a tremendous asset or a significant complication. Nova, Zara said carefully, we require temporary sanctuary. There are hostile vessels pursuing us, I see. And what is the nature of these hostile intentions? They want to steal something that doesn't belong to them, Marcus replied. Theft is contrary to proper research protocols, Nova declared with digital disapproval. I shall activate the station's defensive systems immediately. You have defensive systems? Marcus asked, surprised. Research Station Gemini was built during a period of intersystem conflict, Nova explained as they walked through the corridors. The defensive arrays were designed to protect valuable research from hostile acquisition. They arrived at the station's command center, a circular chamber with massive viewports offering spectacular views of the binary stars. The twin suns danced around each other in an eternal spiral, their surfaces occasionally flaring with massive solar prominences that painted space in brilliant colors. Your pursuers will arrive in approximately 47 minutes, Nova announced, displaying the tactical situation on the command center's main screen. 3 vessels, heavily armed, approaching on standard intercept vectors. Marcus moved to the defensive systems console, familiarizing himself with the ancient but sophisticated controls. These weapon systems are incredibly advanced, he murmured. Energy projectors, particle beam arrays, even what looks like a gravitational manipulation system. The original researchers required protection from those who would abuse their discoveries. Nova explained. Many of their experiments dealt with forces that could be weaponized if misunderstood. Zara had moved to another console and was studying the station's research archives. Marcus, look at this. They were studying something called quantum entanglement bridges, stable wormholes created through artificial gravitational manipulation. Like what the heart stone might be capable of, Marcus asked, joining her at the console. Exactly like that. Zara's excitement was evident in her voice. Nova, do you have any data on quantum crystalline matrices that could facilitate dimensional bridging? Indeed. Professor Hendricks' final research project before the station's abandonment dealt with precisely such phenomena. However, his work remained theoretical due to the lack of a suitable quantum focusing medium. Zara reached into her jumpsuit and withdrew the heart stone, its soft glow immediately catching Nova's attention. Fascinating, the AI said, its voice carrying what sounded like genuine wonder. The crystalline structure matches Professor Hendricks' theoretical models precisely. Where did you acquire such an artifact? It's been in my family for generations, Zara replied, which was true in a broad sense. Can you help us understand how to use it safely? I would require detailed scans and analysis. Nova replied, however, I should warn you that the research indicated extreme caution. Improperly activated quantum crystals could create spatial distortions with unpredictable effects. An alarm began sounding through the station. Hostile vessels have arrived, Nova announced. 3 ships deploying in attack formation, activating defensive systems. Through the command center's viewports, they could see energy beams lancing between the stars as Voss's ships engaged the station's automated defenses. The ancient weapons systems proved surprisingly effective, forcing the pirates to maintain their distance. The defensive grid will hold for approximately 4 hours, Nova calculated. However, the hostile commander appears to be highly experienced. He will likely develop a strategy to overcome our advantages. Marcus studied the tactical display, noting how Voss was probing the station's defenses systematically. He's looking for weak points, professional pirate tactics. More than that, Zara said grimly. Voss used to be a military commander before he turned to piracy. He knows how to crack defensive installations. As if summoned by her words, incoming. Fire began to intensify. The station shuddered as energy blasts struck its hull, and several defensive platforms went dark on the tactical display. He's targeting our weapons systems individually, Marcus observed, neutralizing them one by one. Standard siege protocol, Nova confirmed, given current rates of attrition. Defensive capability will be reduced to 30% within 2 hours. Marcus, move to the gravitational manipulation controls, an idea forming. Nova, can you use the binary star's gravitational field as a weapon? Explain your concept. The AI requested, create a gravitational lens between the stars and the attacking ships. Use the intense stellar radiation as a directed energy weapon. Theoretically possible, Nova mused. However, such a maneuver would require precise calculations and perfect timing. Any error could result in catastrophic solar destabilization. Zara looked up from the research console where she'd been studying Professor Hendricks' work. The heart stone could help. Its quantum properties might allow it to interface with the gravitational systems, providing the precision we need. That would require you to directly connect with the crystalline matrix, Nova warned. The neural feedback could be dangerous, especially for a biological nervous system. I've interfaced with heart stones before, Zara said, though Marcus noticed the uncertainty in her voice. Not like this, he said, moving to her side. This would be different, choosing the crystal to control forces powerful enough to manipulate stars themselves. Zara met his eyes, her violet gaze steady despite the danger. Do we have another choice? Another impact rocked the station, stronger. This time, through the viewports, they could see that Voss had destroyed 2 more defensive platforms and was closing the distance. No, Marcus admitted, but you won't do it alone. If the crystal responds to emotional resonance, like you said, then maybe 2 minds connected through it would be more stable than 1. The human suggests a quantum entangled consciousness bridge, Nova observed. Fascinating. Such a connection would theoretically provide redundant stability and enhanced processing capability. Zara took the heart stone from her pocket, its glow intensifying in response to their proximity and the emotional charge between them. "Are you sure about this, Marcus? We don't know what kind of effect it might have." Marcus took her free hand in his, feeling the familiar electric tingle of contact. "I trust you, and I trust what's between us." The heart stone blazed with brilliant light as they both reached for it simultaneously. The moment their consciousness touched the crystal's quantum matrix, reality exploded into a kaleidoscope of possibility. Marcus felt Zara's mind merge with his own, their thoughts and emotions flowing together in ways that transcended physical sensation. Through their shared awareness, they could perceive the gravitational dance of the binary stars, the quantum fluctuations in spacetime itself, and the approaching threat of Voss's ships. The heart stone became a conduit through which they could reach out and touch the fundamental forces of the universe. "Gravitational lens forming," Nova announced, its voice seeming to come from very far away. "Stellar radiation focusing." Now, a beam of pure solar fury lanced across space, precisely targeted through their quantum-enhanced guidance. It struck Voss's flagship squarely, overwhelming its shields and sending the vessel spinning away from the station. The remaining pirate ships retreated immediately, recognizing a force beyond their ability to challenge. As the connection faded, and they returned to normal consciousness, Marcus found himself still holding Zara's hand, the heart stone pulsing gently between their intertwined fingers. "That was incredible," he breathed, feeling changed by the experience of sharing consciousness with another being. "It was," Zara agreed, her eyes shining with wonder. "And Marcus, I felt something else while we were connected. The heart stone showed me a vision of where we need to go." "Where?" "A place where binary stars shine on a world that could be home," she said softly. "A place where my people could rebuild, and where technology and love could flourish together." Through the viewports, the twin suns continued their eternal dance, no longer seeming like distant nuclear furnaces, but like beacons pointing toward a future neither of them had dared to imagine. 3 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of Heaven's Edge colony, watching the binary suns set over an alien landscape that had become more beautiful to him than any world he'd ever known. The twin stars painted the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, their light reflecting off the crystalline formations that dotted the planet's surface, formations that resonated with the same quantum frequencies as Zara's heart stone. The colony was thriving beyond anyone's expectations. When they'd first arrived with the quantum crystal and the research data from Station Gemini, the original settlers had been struggling with basic infrastructure. The planet's unique geology made conventional engineering challenging, but the Heartstone's ability to manipulate gravitational and quantum forces had provided solutions to problems that had seemed impossible. "The hydroponics bay is operating at 150% efficiency," reported Jennifer Walsh, the colony's agricultural coordinator, as she joined Marcus on the observation deck. "Whatever you and Zara did to the quantum resonance chambers, it's creating perfect, growing conditions." Marcus smiled, remembering the delicate work of attuning the crystal's harmonics to enhance the planet's natural properties. It had required weeks of careful calibration, with Zara serving as the interface between his engineering knowledge and the Heartstone's quantum capabilities. "How are the new rivals settling in?" he asked, better than expected. When word spread through the trade networks about a colony that actually welcomed refugees, Jennifer shrugged. "We've got families from a dozen different worlds now, all contributing their unique skills." Through the transparent aluminum windows, Marcus could see the colony's main street bustling with activity. Humans worked alongside Zara's people and several other species, building something unprecedented, a truly integrated community where differences were celebrated rather than merely tolerated. "Marcus," came a familiar voice from behind him. He turned to see Zara approaching, her silvery hair catching the light of the setting suns. Even after months together, her beauty still took his breath away, though it was her mind and spirit that had truly captured his heart. "The communication array is ready for testing," she announced, her violet eyes sparkling with excitement. Nova thinks we can establish real-time contact with other refugee settlements across the sector. The ancient AI had proven invaluable to the colony's development. When they'd explained their plans to Nova, the artificial intelligence had requested permission to transfer its consciousness to Heaven's Edge, bringing centuries of accumulated knowledge to help build their new home. Any word from Callan? Marcus asked. The former military leader had proven instrumental in organizing the refugee communities, though he remained aboard Sanctuary as it made its way toward the new colony world. He should arrive next week with the final group from the outer settlements, Zara replied, moving to stand beside him at the observation windows. He's bringing nearly 3,000 people, including most of the technical specialists who escaped the consortium's expansion. Marcus slipped his arm around her waist, marveling at how natural the gesture had become. Their relationship had deepened beyond the quantum resonance they'd discovered on Research Station Gemini. They'd found the kind of partnership that transcended species, built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and a love that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. There's something else, Zara said, her voice carrying a note of excitement mixed with uncertainty. The Heartstone has been showing me new visions. What kind of visions? Zara reached into her pocket and withdrew the crystal, its glow now steady and warm rather than the urgent pulsing they'd grown accustomed to. During their adventures, other Heartstones, Marcus, scattered across the galaxy, waiting to be awakened. How? Many others, at least 7, possibly more, each one attuned to different quantum frequencies, capable of different applications. She looked up at him, her expression serious. With multiple stones working in harmony, we could create a network of stable dimensional bridges, not just for travel, but for communication, resource sharing, even coordinated research across vast distances. Marcus considered the implications. That would change everything. Instead of isolated colonies struggling to survive, you could have an interconnected civilization spanning multiple worlds and dimensions. We could. Zara corrected gently. This isn't just about my people anymore, Marcus. It's about everyone who's been displaced, everyone who dreams of something better than endless conflict and expansion. Before Marcus could respond, a soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. The communication array flickered to life, projecting a holographic image of Captain Hendricks from Nexus 7. Marcus, Zara. The station manager's voice carried across the light years with crystal clarity. We've been monitoring your quantum broadcasts. Half the outer rim is talking about your colony. Good news or bad news? Marcus asked with a grin. Mostly good. Trade requests are flooding in. Everyone wants to establish commerce with a settlement that's actually stable and prosperous. Though I should warn you, the Helix Consortium is making noises about stolen property again. Zara's expression hardened slightly. Let them come. We're not the desperate fugitives we once were. Actually, they might not be a problem much longer, Hendricks continued. Intelligence reports suggest the consortium is fragmenting. Too much. Internal conflict over resources and territory. Some of their client systems are declaring independence. The old order is collapsing. Marcus observed. People are looking for alternatives to the endless cycle of conquest and exploitation. Which brings me to the real reason for this call, Hendricks said. I've been approached by representatives from 12 different colonies and trade networks. They want to know if Heaven's Edge would be willing to host a summit, a gathering to discuss new forms of cooperation and governance. Marcus and Zara exchanged glances. It was exactly the kind of opportunity they'd hoped for, a chance to share their model of cooperative development with others who were ready to try something different. Tell them yes, Zara said firmly. We'll host their summit, and Hendricks invite everyone, not just the wealthy trade worlds, but the refugee settlements, the independent colonies, anyone who wants to build something better. After the transmission ended, they stood together in comfortable silence, watching the binary stars complete their dance across the alien sky. The Heartstone in Zara's hand pulsed gently, its light harmonizing with the distant glow of the crystalline formations that had made this world perfect for their purposes. What are you thinking? Zara asked softly. Marcus considered the question seriously. 3 months ago, he'd been a solitary engineer on a remote trading station, skilled but directionless. talented but without purpose. Now he was part of something extraordinary, a community that represented hope for a better future, and a relationship that had shown him depths of connection he'd never imagined possible. "I'm thinking," he said finally, "that we've only just begun to discover what's possible when different kinds of intelligence work together. Human creativity, your people's wisdom, artificial intelligence like Nova, even the quantum consciousness of the heart stones themselves, a synthesis of organic and artificial, individual and collective, technology and spirit," Zara mused. "My ancestors would have called it the next stage of evolution." Marcus turned to face her fully, taking her free hand in his. "And what would you call it?" Zara's smile was radiant in the light of the twin suns. "I'd call it love," Marcus read. "Love for each other, love for the possibilities we can create together. Love for a future where cooperation replaces conquest and diversity becomes strength." The heart stone blazed with brilliant light, as if responding to her words, and for a moment Marcus felt that familiar sensation of expanded awareness, a glimpse of the infinite possibilities that stretched out before them like an endless web of potential. "You know," he said, pulling her closer, "when you first asked me what else I expected to receive from you, I never could have imagined this." "And what is this, exactly?" Zara asked, her voice dropping to the sultry tone that still sent shivers down his spine. "Everything," Marcus replied simply. "A home, a purpose, a love that transcends species and worlds and the boundaries of what I thought was possible. Then, perhaps," Zara murmured, standing on her toes to bring her lips close to his, "you're finally learning to dream big enough for the universe we're building together." Their kiss was illuminated by the light of binary stars and the gentle glow of quantum crystal, sealing a bond that had begun with playful challenge and evolved into something that could reshape the galaxy itself. Around them, the colony of heavens edge bustled with the activities of a dozen species working together to build tomorrow, while overhead, the stars themselves seemed to pulse in harmony with the quantum heartbeat of infinite possibility. In the distance, ships were already beginning to arrive for the summit that would bring together representatives from across the sector, refugees and rulers, traders and dreamers, all drawn by the promise of something better than the endless cycle of conflict that had defined their galaxy for too long. And at the center of it all, an alien woman and a human engineer stood hand in hand, their love proving that the greatest transformations begin not with grand gestures or overwhelming force, but with two hearts brave enough to reach across the vast distances between worlds and touch something eternal.